All right, guys, we are back on the Jeep. So the last video you saw was basically making the engine plates for the Jeep and then making or bolting the adapter plate, which I got off a marketplace on there. So that's all done. Again, adapter plate isn't finalized. I haven't torqued everything yet because it's a lot of in and out of the Jeep, and because I've got those different degree of angles that I can clock that engine at, I want to make sure, you know, I don't want to tighten everything down with Loctite and stuff and then have to take it all off. So I pulled the Jeep up earlier just into the yard, pressure washed the engine bay, kind of just roughly cleaned the Jeep off. I didn't video it. Y'all have pressure washed and seen pressure washing before, so I saved y'all the agony of having to watch that on time lapse. But so we got the Jeep engine bay. I didn't scrub it, just degreased it as best I could, washed it. And so I'll update you on what we have to do before we can test fit now. So let me kind of get in here. So these are the original Jeep mounts. I already cut them because they were sticking out to like pretty far. They were sticking out like here. So I cut them down. Now, because this came with a 4-cylinder and a 6-cylinder, Jeep actually made provision to move this mount farther down. There's a stud here. Then if you come over here, same thing. You've got 2 more studs back here. So this mount actually sits a little farther forward or a little farther back towards the firewall than this mount. And so we only need to slide this mount down 1 bolt hole, and then this guy we're gonna slide down to these far back 2 bolt holes. I'm not saying you have to do that to get this in, but after kind of looking at it, measuring, that seems to be the best move because the engine plates on the TDI are so far back. So we're gonna unbolt those and we're going to grind that like kind of hump that comes off. We're gonna grind that flat and probably for now just tack weld like a flat plate onto it. Or we'll just slide them back for now and kind of test fit the engine and see if maybe we just weld a flat plate right onto the front of it. But first things first, let's get those unbolted. It's a whole handful of different bolts, so I'm gonna have to dig around through my sockets here for a minute and find the bolts we need. We'll get those guys off. Those are some thick bolts. Get out of here, wasp. Wow. This thing is just about empty. All right, good enough to keep on cruising. All right, guys, so we got the factory Jeep mounts out. May not end up using these, which we'll get to that here farther along, but they're out. So you can see I already cut the ends off kind of roughly to what maybe they'll need to be. So they're out, engine bay's wide open. I did disconnect the track bar so that way, because the track bar sat up a little above the axle and I think that it was gonna hit the oil pan. So we're gonna need to raise the front down the road, but for right now, to at least get everything in and going, I would like to just, you know, just take the track bar off, get it all mounted, everything finalized on the engine, and then we'll go back to getting it all up in the air and everything out of the way. So let's get the engine out of the shop, which is the next fun part. Ugh, dirty. Just in a really awkward spot. All right, down the hill we go. Awesome. All right, let's ease it forward. Golly, nothing wants to roll very well today. Okay, let's bring it down a little so we can clear the hood. We did not clear the hood. It's all right. Get that on those big jobs. not going in that. Do a little persuading. Okay, so we pulled the engine back out. I spun the adapter plate down a set of holes, so I was using the middle, but all of this stuff was super close to this side of the Jeep. Tons of space over here, but because the TDIs originally sit like this in the car with the front out here, they leaned everything off this side of the engine. So rotated it down, and then back here, I took the old Persuader 5000 and tapped a little bit in here and a little bit in there because the starter piece sits like right up here. And then this coolant nipple coming off of here was, I mean, right into the firewall when it was almost touching. So we adjusted that, and let's stick it back in. See if it fits this time. Now, first thing I'm noticing, steering shaft is still hitting the power steering pump. So really, I need the trans to be out like an inch. You shouldn't have to do that, but this is made for a like Jeep TJ or YJ or Wrangler. I think the Wranglers, not for a Cherokee. So while the adapter will bolt to the transmission fine, there's going to be some things that I didn't know I was going to maybe have to do, which that's, ow. And one of them being, I've got enough room on the coolant nipple, and I'm probably going to weld a 90 off of that. It may just fit. It will, okay. I think it will just fit up in there. Okay, so unless someone else has a different experience with the XJs, that this vacuum pump, I hate that they have this all on the back of the head, otherwise it'd fit perfect, but vacuum pump and stuff is definitely hitting. So like it's made it up against the transmission, but it's hitting the vacuum pump. So I'm gonna have to get a jack and see if I can pull the trans. I mean, I just need an inch. An inch at the most is all I need to get this thing to fit without doing anything major. You could probably delete the vacuum pump and run a electronic vacuum pump of some sorts, but I want to keep this as easy as possible for working on. You'll never get the vacuum pump off with the TDI in the Jeep, that's for sure. I mean, there's no space to get it off, but that's okay. We knew that was never going to work. So let me see if I can get that transmission forward more. Hit me a 16 millimeter deep socket.
16?
Yep.
There you go.
Thank you. And I might need that impact drill. Yep, that one. Thank you. So now we can move the transmission forward and backwards to our liking. That should work. We'll have to come back and slot that bracket. That's easy. A couple minutes with the old grindy, make 5,000. Now. Okay guys, so what I did just a minute ago was I got under the Jeep. I lowered I held the transmission in place, lowered the mount, and I removed the bolts that bolt the mount directly to the transmission. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back and slot those so the trans can move forward and backwards. We only need it to move forward. But as soon as I did that, I pulled the trans forward, and now it's flush, made it up against the bracket, which is awesome. Vacuum pump clearance still minimal, so I'm gonna kind of temporarily bolt the trans on and see how far I can bring it forward on that mount. I can obviously modify that. The slip yoke is in the trans like that far, so I'm gonna get this thing. I don't think I'm still gonna be able to take the vacuum pump off without pulling the engine. I'd have to come forward like 6 inches. I'm not gonna modify drive shafts if I don't have to. So I'm gonna temporarily bolt this guy in. I'm gonna have my wife kind of just hold it like this. I'm gonna bolt it, and then once I get like 2 bolts kind of running snug, then I can kind of pull the whole unit forward. So, babe, if you want, can you take my place here? And I'm just literally just pushing up against the engine like that. Can you do that? All right. Okay, we have success. So took a lot of fiddling. What I ended up doing, wow. Yeah, I'm dirty. Been under, out, on top, below, everywhere. So what I ended up doing, okay, with the XJ, I really think you have to do this. The plate that the transmission sits on, like the cross member, but the plate that the transmission directly bolts to, I took that plate, I just simply slotted the holes and brought it forward. So I slotted the back two connecting to the front two, and then the front two I brought forward about 1 inch. It was just like up against the firewall, like it was touching. So that wasn't gonna work for me. I mean, maybe you could make it work, but it's just gonna, sure, massage the firewall, maybe cut a little access spot back there. For a lot of different ways to do it. I chose to slot the holes, slide the transformer. The shaft, the yoke inside the transmission literally only got about that much farther out, so still plenty of space. I'm just about binding the 4-wheel drive linkage, so I'm gonna leave it there. It looks like everything will reach where I need to be, and the linkage should work as is. I just need to shorten a few of the rods a little bit. But so here's the engine in the bay. It's not perfectly centered, it's not all perfectly balanced, but it's just kind of hanging off of the jack right now. And here it is. So you can see it's just still free floating there. But I've got clearance, so I need to, right now it's sitting in there, but it's kind of pointing this way. So I need to try to measure and kind of brace off the crankshaft just to kind of hold it in place. I'm on a little bit of a hill here, which is awful for this, but essentially it's gonna just kind of go about like right there. So I've got clearance from all of that, plenty of clearance. Moving that to the top bolt was the key. That gave me all the clearance I needed. I massaged the firewall back there. I may not have had to, but I've got a little bit of extra wiggle room now. I could still get, I've probably got about that much space behind the vacuum pump, which is sweet. So this side's good. This is everything that's gonna be over here. AC compressor would not work down there unless maybe you had a ginormous lift. So that's fine. I already knew that we had taken it off. On this side, I don't have the starter bolted on there. I will need to notch some of that bell housing out. You can see right there, that's normal. I was already aware of that, but I've got room for my turbo to bolt on here. Kind of close to these, which I'm gonna try to rehook the AC in this at some point. Enough space for my heater core lines, but it is kind of tight to this. But it should bolt in like right about here, just barely clear this. For now, I can just disconnect these, but when I go to do the new one, I may try to push it a little bit that way, or, I could always do like a neck off of this, really, just bolt on a neck and put the turbo like right here, which would look kind of cool too. So for now, it'll fit there. Starter right there. So tons of space on this side. So you can see the mount, this side's gonna be easy to get figured out. This side over here is just a little bit tighter to work in, but there's more space than it looks. The mount's gonna sit somewhere like right about here. And then, pardon me. And then the engine plate, let me get a different angle. And the engine plate is right there. So that's gonna be pretty lined up. And the mounts are gonna be a lot easier than I thought, which is sweet. I've got coolant lines pointing the wrong direction, but I believe you can spin that, oil cooler. You could do an oil cooler, delete an external filter, and free up a lot of room, but that's more money, so we're leaving that as is. Plenty of access to the top of the oil filter right here. I've got just like 4 bolts or 3 bolts in that plate. No clutch, no flywheel, but this is what it looks like. So it's gonna be a breeze to work on. Valve cover will come off. The vacuum pump only sticks in the engine about that much. It may come off, but I'm super excited about that. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time now. I've spent a lot of time getting this in. It was actually a lot harder than I thought, and I think maybe that's because this isn't for an XJ technically. It's for, I mean, it's made to go to an AX15 transmission, which it bolted up to this one as well, fine. But it is made for a Jeep, like a traditional Jeep, like a YJ. So their engine bays are different. So it fits. If you're trying to do it, it does work. May have to bring the transmission forward, massage your firewall, whatever you're comfortable with. But bringing the trans forward for me gave me a lot of extra room. Just that 1 inch, it was crazy how much bringing it forward freed up a lot of space. So I'm going to kind of put these guys, I'm going to play with putting these guys back in and see, you know, if I box the end in, if this is a good start for something, or if I just need to throw these in the scrap pile and start fresh with the engine mount. So we will keep you updated as we go. Again, I don't know, guys, it's hard to video this kind of stuff. It's just a lot of thinking, scratching my head, drawing stuff, grabbing metal. I try to show what I do, but it's hard to show the whole thing. It'd be like a 3-hour-long video. But hood-wise, we got plenty of clearance. I'm running a completely different intake manifold that's just going to come to about here in height. So plenty of room for the hood to shut and everything like that. I'll probably need to get rid of that horrific light box there because that's retarded looking anyways, but plenty of space. So I don't think I'm going to get it mounted today, but I'm going to try and just see if I can at least start getting something formulated that I can start cutting some stuff out, and we'll go from there.